Shocking, discover the signs and symptoms of type 2 diabetes and associated conditions. The video we recommend today offers an in-depth look at the signs and symptoms of type 2 diabetes, as well as exploring the conditions related to this disease.
Type 2 diabetes presents with a variety of signs and symptoms and associated conditions. We're going to talk about those in this lesson, but before we begin, let's talk briefly about what type 2 diabetes.
Type 2 diabetes is characterized by poor glucose regulation due to decreased insulin sensitivity or insulin resistance, resulting in elevated blood glucose levels.
Type 2 diabetes is a condition involving impaired glucose regulation. So the impaired glucose regulation is a result of decreased insulin sensitivity or insulin resistance.
Risk factors include metabolic syndrome, overweight, obesity, genetic predispositions, and certain medications. This video is a valuable educational resource as it explains how type 2 diabetes affects different systems of the body, starting with symptoms such as polyuria,
which leads to decreased glucose tolerance and increased glucose levels. The risk factors for getting type 2 diabetes include having metabolic syndrome,
polydipsia and polyphagia, which are the three classic symptoms of the disease. Additionally, fatigue, unexplained weight loss, vision changes, and recurrent infections are addressed as important signs to consider.
and being overweight or obese. There are genetic predispositions for getting type 2 diabetes. So if you have a family history, for instance, if your parents have type 2 diabetes, you're more likely.
Its detailed explanation of how high glucose levels can damage various organs and systems in the body, causing complications such as diabetic neuropathy, diabetic retinopathy, and diabetic nephropathy. The importance of recognizing early signs of the disease for timely diagnosis.
Likely to get it yourself. And then certain ethnic groups are at an increased risk for getting type 2 diabetes as well. And then being on certain medications can also increase your risk for getting type 2 diabetes, and these include.
This video is essential for anyone looking to better understand type 2 diabetes, whether you're looking for information for yourself or a loved one. Not only does it provide a deep understanding of the symptoms and complications,
some antipsychotic medications. Now, the epidemiology of type 2 diabetes reveals that it is a very, very common condition. 8 to 9% of the world population has diabetes.
But it also highlights the importance of education and prevention in the fight against this chronic disease. For the complete and detailed information, be sure to watch the full video in the description.
And out of this portion of people who have it, 90% of cases of diabetes is type 2 diabetes mellitus. So the other 10% would be type 1 diabetes. So the topic of this lesson is type 2 diabetes causes certain signs and symptoms and associated conditions. So it all has to do with increased glucose levels affecting certain organ systems. We're going to talk about each of those in the next upcoming slides. It's first important to note that many patients may initially have no symptoms at all. So there is a period of time when patients